What's up guys, welcome back to Luffy Gear 5 side view, and it kind of looks like it's drawn by the One Punch Man guy, but it's like One Piece style anyway, but it's just cool. I love Gear 5, like it's definitely one of the most iconic. It's right up there. Well, is it up there with Super Saiyan? Yeah, it probably is. So cool. Anyway, landscape page. This would work portrait as well, but we'll go, I do it landscape just to fit more in, because YouTube screen is landscape. So he's looking to the left. So I'm going to start with the nose in profile. So we just do a letter L, sort of a capital letter L, or an upside down 7. And then his nostril, just a little dash there. At the top of this, at the brow, it turns into a sort of a Z sort of shape. And then his sort of frowning kind of eyebrow comes out from there, but we'll just give him sort of a little bump, maybe just going up. And the eyebrow will come out from there for the other eye. The big eyebrow, though, is just right beside this, and you do a bit of a spiral first. And then it flicks itself up. Right? His hair covers a bit of this, but we'll draw it in first anyway. Down into there. So his eye underneath, he's kind of looking over this way, right? So we get like his top eyelid either side of the eyebrow here. So it's coming out from underneath his eyebrow. Okay, and then the bottom eyelid line curving around here. Then we have that red disc of an eye, thin, because we're looking at the side of his eye. Okay, so when circles are turned sideways, they get thinner. So it's an ellipse, right? That's the term. And then in here, just at the back of his iris, you get that lens, that pupil-like lens. And the more realistic way of doing it, you could do it right in the middle, but having it slightly at the back of that circle, just back here, like closer to this line than the front line, because the lens is actually back in your eye, it makes it look more real, sort of. It makes it look real and better. When I started drawing, I actually didn't know that. Know it now. So scar underneath, and then here stitching. So the other eye, right? So we can see we're going to do sort of his eyebrow, right? And we'll do like a little spiral line, but it's very thin, right? Because it sort of disappears behind his sort of brow area. So it's real small. And then you can have, I would say, sort of like his eyelash, maybe. What way would it go? I would imagine it curves down. Yes, what did I do? So we'll go down right for that eyelash, and then you can probably see his eyeball just there, and then sort of the skin of his eyelid just on top, and then some of that red maybe just in here, sort of looking over that way as well. Now it's only slight, you know, you can't really make it out that much, very small, because it's turned away from us. Right, and then, so his mouth, so he's got like this sort of basic sort of smile, right? Curves up, down. That's him kind of serious. You could leave it like that if you wanted, but I'm going to give him like a smile. So I'm going to just curve up the corner here. Changes the look completely. And then just for the front of his face, right? We're going to like bump it out in like shallow sort of little bumps for his lips. They just do like a bump and a bump. Very basic. And then we go down for his chin. curves around. And then we go up for his jaw. They leave a bit of a gap here, which is optional. You don't have to do the gap. It's just, sometimes it's a nice little touch. And then his earlobe starts here, right? So you get the earlobe there. And his ear is quite big, so it curves up. It's kind of in line with the eyebrow. Up and down, like that. And then ear lines inside. So the easiest way is a letter J. And then another sort of little bumpy area inside. And then the rest of that cloud-like hair. That's the best way I can describe it. So we get sort of, we'll do some spikes kind of down here. Sometimes they're round and fluffy, and it depends on who the animator is. But we'll do maybe a mixture. So we'll go just sort of over his eyebrow then a bit. And then down here. Sometimes you get like a little spiral in there. And this will sort of all come up like real high. So it'll like come from the back of his neck, say here. Kind of just zigzag and touching the back of his neck down that way. And then you'll fill all this space, right? So it'll go around. Remember, hair moves, especially this Luffy style hair. It's like a cloud. It moves so much, so it doesn't have to be exactly like mine. Right, so I'm just going to bring it around. And it generally goes this way. So I'll just go for it now. And I'm not worrying too much, you know, about different places that I'm adding the hair. I'm just trying to follow the general vibe, you know. And just bumping them around. Do 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 do. I'm gonna start bringing it sort of more down this way then. There are like spirals and all sorts of stuff inside. So like a little spiral sort of thing here. And then there's all spirals inside here as well. Just add these where you want to add them, basically, and just like textures like this, you know, little sort of curves and cloudy sort of wispy sort of shapes like that. Okay, you could do more than that, of course, if you wanted. I think that's enough for me. So the front of his neck then comes down this way. Give him a long like neck muscle there. And then his collarbone going that way. And the other collarbone just curves that way, disappears underneath his waistcoat. Center line for his chest, just there. And we get quite strong looking chest muscle, just there. And then another one there. And it goes underneath his waistcoat. So just the side of it. And then it looks like his, I think his abs sort of start there, down that way. And then the other side of the waistcoat, there. Collar of it is like here. Then we get all these folding lines that just come down for his shoulder. The yellow button. The scar just on his chest, just these spiky sort of lines. And then we have that cloudy stuff like that's around his shoulder, right? So we get like these kind of spiral things on it as well. And then it's kind of just like all puffs of smoke, sort of. And it goes all the way around the back of his head. So like comes out here. And so underneath his armpit. Going around the back of his head. And then it comes down. Goes underneath his other armpit down there. And then, so his shoulder goes down that way, tricep, and then like all the folds on the fabric of his clothing here, like so. Just around the back of his neck like that. And there you go, Luffy, Gear 5. Hope it's helpful. Thanks for watching. See you next one.